Hey everybody, happy Thursday and welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. I am your host, CWall, and as always, we gather here virtually to talk about our most favorite sports teams in the DC area. And we're going to make a decision one of these days. Are we sticking with DC teams or are we saying DMV? Because, we cover teams in Maryland as well. So, y'all know me. We'll figure that out at some point. You all let me know what you think. But I'm going to give everyone a moment to hop on in and join me on the virtual couch. I see everyone checking in. As always, my mother. Everyone say hello to Mama Waller. John Adams, always amazing to see you. Damon, always a pleasure to see you. Give everybody a chance to get right on in. I see Cameron Mingo checking in. Corey Heyman has checked in. Joy Butler, CWall team member, who is always managing the chat, has checked in. Listen, you all want to make sure you are tagging in your DC sports, DMV sports loving family and friends into this show, because absolutely you can always watch it later. But don't we have an amazing time talking about the show together live? Isn't this a grand time each and every time? Now, of course, let's just get right to this, you all. When is there a dull moment in DC sports? When is there? Never. Soon as you think it's getting quiet, what happens? Something, anything. So like you say, Cameron Mingo, never ever. We've been saying it from the beginning. That's what brings us together all the time. And let's just be honest. Let me just say this up front. You absolutely want to tag in your Wizards fans, your fellow Wizards fans, because we know the Wizards this week are holding the big news in DC sports this week. So we're going to get ready to jump in with some other sports updates. But we're absolutely going to get into the big news of the week. So let's get it started, you guys. First up, the Washington Mystics. They are playing the Atlanta Dream right now. Let's wish them well. Let's wish them luck. So far, the Mystics not looking all that great. We do want to welcome Tiana Hawkins back to DC, former Washington Mystics player, key piece to the championship running back team. So want to say what's up to her and give her a shout out. I do know that the team had pulled together a tribute video for her, as they do with all former players. So kudos to her. What's up? All those great things, but go Mystics as always. Couple of updates from the Mystics perspective. As you all may or may not know, Alina Deladon is still out with her back injury, although Natasha Cloud had been dealing with some hip issues. She was dealing with a right hip flexor. She is playing tonight. Kiera Leslie was dealing with a neck strain earlier this morning. Erica McCall was injured in a non-contact injury this morning at practice. All she was doing was just going up for a layup and her knee went out. So let's just continue to watch that and track that Mystics injury list. Very interesting and great news that I thought was that we should absolutely share and celebrate. Mystic Center Tina Charles. So Tina is not playing tonight. She's attending, and I'm making sure I'm getting my notes here. She's attending the premiere of her movie, Game Changer, at the Tribeca Film Festival. And this is actually her second film. So this story, Game Changer, is about a native from Chicago, Tanya DePass, a lifelong Chicago native, African-American gamer, determined to make the game industry more inclusive for everyone, including people like her. So shout out to Tina for making this movie and for being in the film festival. I think this is absolutely amazing. So kudos to her. Like I said, this is her second movie to be featured in the festival. Her first movie that she directed is Charlie's Records. And that's about the story of her father's record store and label in Brooklyn. So shout out to her. We always love to mention when players, coaches are doing other things, whether it be in the community or something else they are passionate about and that they love. We always want to mention that as well on Coaching from the Couch, because that's good for us to know so that we can support accordingly. So check her out. Kudos to her. Give her a shout out on social media. We love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. And Tina will be back with the team against the Indiana Fever. I believe, Cameron, you said you are attending that game on Saturday. So on June 19th, you will see Tina back on the court with the team. Nats fans, are there any Nats fans on? Any Nats fans at all? Check in. Listen, the Nats aren't doing so bad. Listen, let me just stop being funny. The Nats aren't doing all that well. They're doing bad. I'm just trying to be positive. But they did win the series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's something to be said and something that I wanted to mention, because y'all know if I'm mentioning somebody when they're losing, let's go ahead and talk about them when they're winning too. So think of it like this. The Nats need to win. Like when they have their 10-game streaks, they need to win the majority of those games. They're not going to go 10-0 every 10 games because that's totally unrealistic. But they definitely need to get in the groove of winning the majority of these games so that they can they got to get into a surge. They got to get into some sort of groove to help them kickstart this season, or else they are seriously in trouble. So as you all know, we're going to keep watching, keep seeing what's going on with the Nats. They still need to get going offensively. So let's see if they can build the momentum. Let's see if them winning this series against the Pittsburgh Pirates does them some good. Their next games are the New York Mets, right? That's coming up this weekend. Then they'll be on the road to play the Phillies and then the Miami Marlins. So let's see what the Nats do. Let's see if they can get a surge, if they can get into it. Let's see how things go, because they're starting out slow. And you all know that I try to say, listen, it's still early, but now it's not early. We're into the summer and they need to make a move. So let's hope that the surge happens now. Moving into the Wizards. So we're going to get into Wizards, and everybody say what's up to Dervin. Dervin, I see you on. Wizards fans, check in and make sure you are tagging your fellow Wizards fans in this conversation, because it's time for us. We got to talk, Wizards fans. We got to talk. We did a whole conversation at the end of the Wizards season. Whole recap of the season we did here live on Coaching from the Couch. And I hope by now you've checked out the Triple W podcast. Make sure you are following and downloading on Spotify and on YouTube. So we talked a lot about the Wizards season and in a whole and how it came to an end and our thoughts about that. We also talked about, as we always do often on this show as well, the future of Scott Brooks. We all know now the future of Scott Brooks as head coach will not be here in the District of Columbia. He is no longer the head coach of the Washington Wizards. And before I get into that, because I know that's the big news. That's the big news this week. When we talk about there's never a dull moment, of course there's not. Scott Brooks, Wizards parted ways. We're going to get into that in one moment, because I gotta talk about Scott Brooks. You know that I have to, and I know that you just couldn't wait to log in and hear what I had to say about that situation. But first, the good news, more good news, depending on what side of the fence you want with Scott Brooks. But more good news, Bradley Beal finally made All-NBA. Did y'all tell Bradley Beal congratulations? Did you say congratulations to Bradley Beal? I hope that you did, because he finally made All-NBA. He's the first Wizards player to be All-NBA since John Wall. I think John Wall made it in 2017. If you want to know the point breakdown, so here it is. Brad received 7 points for second team votes, 50 in third team votes, 71 overall points. So he had the fifth most points among guards. I saw a few fans that were upset that Russell Westbrook did not make All-NBA, but Bradley Beal did. It would have been nice. It would have been awesome for both of them to make it. Actually, true story, Joy Butler, CWall team member that you all talk to all the time, every week on Thursdays via the chat. We were out. We were out and about running some errands, and we had stopped to get something to eat. And I told her, I said, hey, I need to get myself together to see this All-NBA announcement. So I'm sitting there like I can't even eat my food. I'm holding my breath and everything, waiting for this announcement. And when Brad got it, I was just like, oh, whew. Because that would have, I know, a lot of people would not have been pleased or happy with that had Brad not made the selection. And like Joy said, it was a whole deal. And to Russ McCray, hey, how you doing? One of our most favorite people in the DC DMV area. We weren't out. We were just out. So while we were out, as Joy said, it was a whole deal. Because y'all know that, listen, I do my media thing and I enjoy it, but sometimes the emotions kick in. And like Joyce said, she didn't know what was happening. She didn't know if it was like a situation. If I had, you would have to been there. You had to be there to know what I'm talking about. But believe Joy, it was a whole situation. Sometimes, y'all, I got really involved. I didn't know what mode I was in. Am I in CWall mode, or is this just Candy being like, listen, please just say Brad's name. So that made me happy. I was pleased, and I was delighted. It was a sigh of relief. I felt better. I could eat the rest of my food, and it felt really good. I felt really good. So here's the thing. Thought this was an interesting tidbit that I wanted to share with you all. I think it's very important. So unlike in previous years, being All-NBA does not make a player or make Brad eligible for the Supermax deal. So I was learning that. I was like, oh, really? It doesn't. But he still can get paid. Brad can absolutely get paid. So, hey, look, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, if he wants to stay with the Wizards, if he's going to continue with his contract and want to be extended. And that goes into now the conversation about Scott Brooks. So, as everyone has said, and as you have heard me say numerous times, Scott Brooks is a nice person. And here's the thing about it. It's hard to fire nice people. So, like, it's easier to fire somebody or get rid of someone when they're not nice. When they're just not nice, a nice person, not very kind. But, Scott is just, he's everybody's friend. He's so cool. And he's just a nice guy, a fine human being. So I know that was hard for Tommy. I knew it was hard. They're friends. I know it was hard it's hard for the players to have to go through this. Veteran players, they understand this is business. The younger players, not so much, right? They're still getting used to this whole, professional basketball, NBA lifestyle. And everybody really liked Scott. Everybody. They really like him. And when it came, down to how the season turned around and all of that, every single player that you talk to will tell you and will say that they give all the thanks to Coach Brooks. However, that's all nice. That's all well and good. But a lot of what we have talked about on this show is that enough? Is being nice and cool and encouraging, and not to say that he's a bad coach. We're not saying that he's a bad. I think he's a good coach. But it's types of coaches. It's types of things that players need. And sometimes just being a nice guy isn't going to cut it. It's just not. It's just not. It's not going to win you basketball games. Now, of course, the counter argument is always, well, when you're dealing with a roster that's like bad to mediocre, whose fault is it? Listen, the coach has a lot of responsibility. We all knew. We saw it. It was coming. We knew. I think the conversation has been a lot around what the reason behind it was. Did Scott just get fired? Like, hey, Scott, listen. This is just not going to work out. Or was it truly about the organization wanting Scott to get new coaching staff and Scott feeling like, no, I want to move forward with the team that I have right now. I'm not firing my staff. I want to move forward with the team. Here's what I will say. With the reports and the information that it was about the coaching staff and, revamp your staff and get a new model in there. If that's the case, that's for me, that's a lot to think about. Like, you just didn't say, hey, listen, Scott, I'm not going to extend your contract. He was at the end of his contract when the playoffs ended. It was over. It had ended. And it doesn't matter who you would like to switch in and out of your coaching staff because, this party has come to an end. So I don't know. A lot of folks are talking about it. Either way you look at it, Scott Brooks is no longer the coach. So yesterday, Tommy Shepard held a press conference. I don't know if you all have seen the press conference. I'm not sure if they posted that press conference publicly. I thought they did. They, meaning the Wizards organization. But at any rate, I noted some of the things that Tommy said that I thought was interesting. He definitely mentioned, and let me just back up here too. I feel like Tommy was, I don't know, it was just somber. It's I don't know. And I kind of was like, wow, is he sad? And like I said a moment ago, you all, it's hard to fire people. This is the sports industry is a tough business, right? Turnover happens in every single organization. And again, when you're dealing with a very nice person, it's just hard, and that everyone considers a friend, it's hard to let them go. So my general sense, especially at the beginning of the media call, was Tommy was very somber. I mean, this wasn't like he had some demeanor, like he was like, whew, had to get him out of here. It wasn't that at all. So I could tell it was, kind of somber. Like, this is hard. This is rough. But see, Tommy's next move better be his best move. It better be his best move. Because, hey, listen, I know it's hard to fire people you like and that you're friends with and that you care about. But that's just how this business is. You got Brad coming up on a potential, could be potentially a free agent here soon. You got Russell Westbrook, who really did genuinely like Scott and truly genuinely believe that Scott should still be the head coach of the Washington Wizards. So make your next move your absolute best move. Free agency starts up August 2nd. The NBA draft is July 29th. Tommy said they're going to do a very thorough, very diverse, robust search. Said things like this person needs to be a great communicator. Want somebody who has a defensive mind. At least that's how I'm paraphrasing it, because he highlighted that part of the court in the basketball being of importance. Here's the thing that was interesting. He said he's not worried about people that are interested in working as the head coach of the Washington Wizards because I'm getting bombarded with texts and calls. So, you look at it, the Wizards are now one of 6 NBA teams. Well, actually now it might be 7, right? Because Rick Carlisle from the Dallas Mavericks has resigned today. So you have the Wizards, you have the Mavericks, you got the Celtics, the Trailblazers, Orlando, New Orleans, and Indiana, all looking for head coaches right now. I see, Cameron, you've already listed some coaches that you would like to see. Anybody else have any suggestions on coaches? Because I absolutely want to go and point out some names that have been shared around and listed. David Aldridge, legend in the journalism game, head editor for the Athletic DC, had some potential, a good list, solid list of potential candidates. Joy, I know you going to dust off your resume. John, we talked about you going to dust off yours. Russ has already declined my invite to throw his name on in the hat. Hey, I just report the news. I'm on the media side of things. I made that decision a while ago, so I can't put my name in the hat. But whoever else would like to put their name in the hat, I absolutely encourage you to do so. And I'm being really serious about that. So let's see, right? I see, Cameron, you've already mentioned Sam Cassell. Of course, Sam Cassell was on the list. Wes Unseld Jr., very high on David Aldridge's list. Rick Carlisle. Now, Rick Carlisle done stepped down from the Dallas Mavericks. Who knows what could happen there? Of course, then there's those that have gone into the broadcasting side of things. Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy, Sam Mitchell named. Of course, hey, listen, Kara Lawson's name has come back up. Becky Hammon name. I've seen Becky's name floating around a lot with multiple teams, actually. So let's see. Who else? He's got a long list. Kenny Atkinson, Darvin Ham is on this list. Let's see. I mean, and Rush, you're bringing up a very important point. that I think is critical here, because we're seeing across the league, a player-centric model, and where the player's input truly matters and is taken into consideration. So I absolutely would hope that Tommy asked them first. I hope so, because hey, that's just, if they know that they're playing, and Brad has made it very clear he absolutely wants to win. We know, one of the arguments for Russell Westbrook is, he's done all these things, he's a stat stuffer, but never won a championship. Okay, can somebody come in and hit the ground running and make things happen? And while I say Tommy's next move better be his best move, I'm not saying that it's Tommy Shepard's fault for the last 40-something years of no championships. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, it's an issue if it still looks like the last 40-something years, right? So he's got to make a change, and I absolutely would hope that his two superstars' advice is taken into consideration. I think that's a big deal. I think it's something that's who he should be making the decision with. If they're conducting interviews, put them on the panel. Absolutely. And Russ again. Russ, you know what? He gets the gold star. I think Russ might have been here on time, and he's been an active contributor to the conversation, and he's saying things that are awesome. And yes, Ted, please don't be cheap. Whatever you do, spend some money. Spend some money. What are we learning about other organizations, winning organizations? Open up your pocket. I know you got the money, so why not? So, listen, now's not the time to be cheap. Now is not the time to be skimp. Now is not the time to start talking about rebuild. We don't need to talk about that. Not at all. It's go time. So you got to make moves in order for it to be go time. We're seeing teams turn around, complete 180s. Teams that weren't even thought of a couple years ago are making it to conference finals and beating teams that's got the league MVP on them. We don't want to hear all that anymore. Tommy's got a tough job. This is a tough situation that he's in. But hey, this is your position. This is the role. This is what you asked for. Wallace, I see your point about Atlanta. Atlanta is playing right now in the semifinals of in the Eastern Conference playoffs with their interim head coach. Interim head coach. Huh? That's who and guess what? I've said this before. The Atlanta Hawks record, when they fired their coach, the Atlanta Hawks record was better than the Wizards. So, hey, listen, moves got to be made. And I'm seeing other comments coming in. I think, Leon, I saw you say Chauncey Billups, other comments about Mark Jackson and Sam Cassell. Listen. Let the players have input. Let them sit in on these interviews and make a move. Make a move that could change the trajectory of your organization in the next 2 to 3 years, not the next 40. Okay? That's how I feel about that. Now, we're at our time, but we got one more topic I want to bring up. Not necessarily directly Washington football, but it is about the NFL and the NFL Players Association update for training camp protocols. I don't know if you all saw it. Very interesting protocol update for training camp and preseason about how different things are for vaccinated versus unvaccinated players. So if you're fully vaccinated, right, no daily testing required. If you're not fully vaccinated, you still got to be tested every day. Fully vaccinated, masks are not required at the club facility or during team travel. If you're not vaccinated, you got to wear your mask at all times. Fully vaccinated, no physical distancing, no restrictions. You can eat in the cafeteria with other vaccinated individuals. No restrictions on social media, marketing, sponsorship opportunities. If you are not vaccinated, you cannot engage in social and media, marketing, sponsorship activities. Yeah, it's aggressive. It's aggressive. And I think I saw that there are 2 teams. And right now, I can't remember one of the teams. I think one of them, I believe it's the New Orleans Saints, that are at the 85% threshold of, players that have received a vaccine and demand. So to what you're saying, so I guess they have to disclose. Absolutely. The organizations are keeping track. That's how they're able to know the percentage of players that have received and staff that have received the vaccination and are fully vaccinated versus not. So they are disclosing to their organizations absolutely if they're vaccinated or not. That is absolutely a thing, because that is how they're tracking. And that is where that number of the 85% threshold comes from, where they want 85% of the team vaccinated. So that is how they're tracking from a numbers perspective. And they say, okay, 85% of the team in the organization vaccinated. Okay, we can loosen up the protocols a bit for for everybody. So in terms of that, we shall see. Russ, I see your question about how will they handle the media. As of right now, fully vaccinated media personnel are able to engage directly with those fully vaccinated players. The only media that has access inside of locker rooms are the team's media and like NFL Network. They're the only ones, that are allowed in the locker room. But fully vaccinated media, they are able to engage. They are able to be out there, and they're also able to engage with fully vaccinated players. So I wanted to mention that so that everybody knows what's going down. NFL, it's on NFL.com and everywhere you can Google it. If you want to read more about the NFLPA training camp and preseason updated protocols, it is online. So it's a lot. And like Joy mentioned, it's aggressive. It's aggressive. But hey, it is what it is, right? So you all, we made it another week coaching from the couch. So you guys, thank you so much as always for tuning in, and make sure you are sharing this show with your DC, DMV sports loving family and friends. Listen, we're going to figure out if we're going to say DC or DMV at some point. We're going to figure it out one day. Anyway, you guys, be blessed, and I will see you guys next week.